You've listed so many books. I think I'm a
You
little
want more?
overwhelmed about where to start.
We're only an
I think
hour
we
into
need-
this thing, Kendra.
We need a lightning round. We need to circle back, and for all the people who are looking for that perfect gift, they
Who
need
are
to
still
pick
here
the book.
an hour in?
Yes, who have tracked with us this whole time. Let's go through each of the categories. I want you have to pick one book, book from each category for someone who wants to, jump into that. So what's one book you'd recommend for historical fiction?
I'm going to say Wolf Hall on that one, but I'm going to give the out. Just watch Mark Rylance on the on the series.
See, we have a rule in our house that you can't watch the movie if you haven't read the book. But then sometimes things like this come along, and I make exceptions.
Breakthrough.
Because you're telling us 3 books, so you already failed at our narrowing it down.
I am only referring to the first one in this case of Wolf Hall, but you're right. It is the name of the whole trilogy as well. So I'm going to say Wolf Hall, but I love Mark Rylance and the crew in that one.
Okay, good to know.
I'll give a pass.
What about Scandinavian?
Oh man, I guess I could. I will give 2 options. I'll give Babette's Feast. Once again, you can watch it. It won an Oscar. It deserves it, so you can watch it.
Yes.
Or read the short story. There's your option. But other than that. Oh, I do hope more people read A Fortunate Man. I think it's worth. I think it's worth the effort, and I do think it's important to understand going into it that as Christians we're conditioned by the eucatastrophe of J.R.R. Tolkien, which is the Christian story. Just when all hope seems lost, everything gets better. And just to give a little bit of a heads up on A Fortunate Man, there's a moment when you think it's all going to get better. And it doesn't, and that's part of what just throws us off. But I think one of what fiction can help us to do is that as Americans, we think everything has to have a happy ending. That is an American cultural expectation, and we struggle then with the unreconcilable, the lament. It's what my book on the Holocaust is trying to deal with there. So having a book that has a non-American sensibility that connects back toward more of that tragic sense that I keep talking about there, that life does not always end happily ever after, is, I think, an important perspective. And I think that's what A Fortunate Man provides us.
Okay, and I'm sure a lighter option in Russian literature.
Obviously, we'll stick with. I do realize going through this that I do need to offer some options in here. So I remember I'll go with my dad's version in here. He read One Life in the Day of Ivan Denisovich back in college. I think it was the only Russian literature he had. So that is a good short story for people to be able to read, but. I hope that people will be stirred to give Brothers Karamazov a read, and do go into it. Keep a name list handy and find a guide from Morrison or others that'll just help you to understand what's happening, so that when you get to the Grand Inquisitor scene, when you get to Rebellion, you can truly understand those quotes that you see floating around and understand the parable that he's trying to tell you of, without God, anything is possible. That's nice as a phrase. It's nice as something that we can look at through history. Brothers Karamazov is a treatment of what happens when people live consistent with that value. And they did that, and he depicted that long before the Nazis and the Soviets came along to prove him right. So, yeah, you can go with One Life. That'll be a shorter story for you, which will also prove it's a nice little tight point to be made there about the prosaic nature of life. But, you can also challenge yourself with Brothers K.
All right. And then your favorite recommendation for Southern fiction.
Okay, I'll let everybody off the hook here. Yeah, just go read Theo of Golden, read Allen's book.
I have seen you recommend that in multiple places. It seems like the one.
Well, it's not quite cotton candy because it is also really, nourishing to you. So I don't know, it's like a good, Cliff Bar or something like that. I'm not sure. Something that's both, goes down well, but also does your body and soul a lot of good. It's just, just a real moving story, and set in modern day Columbus, Georgia. Not by name, but that's what he's writing about in there. So Theo of Golden.